I was more starstruck by Kari Payton only because Matthew Lillard was the first guest of the first episode.
Really?
I have no idea what I'm doing. And Matthew Lillard comes out just pulling knives. And I was like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing in a show?
Hey, welcome to another episode of Dope Talk Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jayla.
And I'm Mach, and today we are here with Chef
Mike Harris.
Oh, you almost got it. We worked on how to remember to say my Polish last name. It's just Harris.
Yes.
Okay, Harris, Chef Mike Harris.
Yes, Chef Mike.
Oh,
my good friend, Chef Mike Harris.
That's right. That's right.
And we appreciate you having us. Well, we appreciate you being here with us.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Thank you, and just giving us a little bit of your time. That we're trying to. This podcast was built basically to give entrepreneurs a better understanding, a better way to at least navigate through what they're trying to get through, whatever career they're trying to get to. So it's like we're interviewing different people, different aspects of life that are essentially doing the same thing. We're all hungry for
trying to make it happen.
Trying to make it happen,
For sure.
So, man, we are glad that you are here, Chef Mike. And a lot of people don't know this, but this is like our second interview with him because, our first interview was there,
Let me tell you, the upgrade in podcast studio, this is so much more
Such
professional.
An upgrade, yes. Right?
By the grace of God, yes, sir.
This place is pretty awesome.
Pretty good.
And speaking of the first episode that we did with you, we kind of dealt with like trial and error, just see what worked and what not, and obviously we get to upgrade to a brand new studio. So is that something that you've experienced in your career as a corporate chef, like trial and error when figuring out new food methods?
How she tied that.
I
was
was
a segue
curious.
and a half right there. So a lot of things that I have done, I've started from, scratch, working the dish pit at a restaurant.
Okay.
I used to play guitar in a band. So it was original hard rock metal band in Chicago. Nobody, no money. Here's our crappy gear. Let's drive a van to, Double Door or wherever and play a show. In R&D, it's a different field and a lot of people don't even know what a research chef is. But you start, although I did go to college and have a degree in culinary arts and culinary nutrition, which is funny because when you look at me and I say culinary nutrition, people are like, that doesn't compute. I don't understand. Right. And you hear my job, working for McDonald's with culinary nutrition degree, that doesn't make sense. But, after college, you start out at the bottom and you got to work your way up, big corporate ladder, which is super annoying. Which is why I do ridiculous things on the side to kind of keep my sanity. And, I know I work for the man, but I want to do fun things on the side. So I keep busy.
And you definitely do. You definitely are a whole persona in TikTok. You are a TikTok celebrity, man.
I'm working on it.
Oh, really? You are?
I dabble a little bit.
Nice.
You dabble a little bit. Now you're being modest, huh?
But here's the problem with TikTok. If I don't talk about McDonald's, nobody cares. I can talk about everything else I've done in my life, whatever. But if I'm not reviewing a Big Mac or giving secret hack or whatever, the algorithm does not like it. So I got to stick with the McDonald's. I'm working on kind of pivoting from that, but slowly but surely we'll make it happen.
Okay. Yeah. So as obviously people probably don't know, but you were the head chef you were the head managing of culinary innovation for McDonald's, correct?
Just about. Manager of culinary innovation for the U.S. menu, which I would not expect anyone to remember that. So, it's okay that you didn't say it right. But, it was my job. I was part of a team to create new menu items for the McDonald's in the United States, which at that time, it was 80% of the world's McDonald's are in the United States. So it's a very unique job, and from like a research chef, my industry, it's like tech people wanting to work for Apple or car folk, maybe Cadillac or Bentley or who. It's the biggest, most recognizable brand. It's top 10 most recognizable brand in the world. So the debate is, culinary degree, worked in restaurants. I'm now slinging Big Macs. So it's a give and take scenario of, I don't necessarily put my full chef capacity in that, but you always try to make the food better. That was kind of why I wanted that role. I was like, all right, it's fast food. I was, want to start a family, have kids. I'm like, we should have better, more affordables, try to put vegetables on things and do whatever. Right. So I try to influence in that manner, but it's very unique role for sure.
Very unique role. Yeah. So you would say you had plenty of different roles or it was just you stuck to the same plan as far as just making sure new items were coming up, or were you doing some R&D like you're doing now?
A little bit of R&D. So when you work for McDonald's, you're the end of the line. So, in McDonald's kitchens, not a lot of people are cooking. The stuff is already developed. When you work for corporate McDonald's, the suppliers and manufacturing partners are making all the stuff. So there's suppliers of the burger patty, the bun, the sauce, the cheeses and whatnot. And because McDonald's is so big, all of those companies have the McDonald's business unit. So Cargill, gigantic company you may have heard of. They have a whole team processing plants across the United States that only make McDonald's stuff. Cargill had a literal certified master chef, Stephen Ginta, which I will never be a master chef. Like, there's 50 of them maybe in the U.S., maybe not even that many. So American Culinary Federation, the best chefs, that's like the highest training you could get. And his job is to take care of McDonald's and, cook burgers for him and stuff like that. So the amount of chef power that is thrown at McDonald's, there's so many chefs. But then there's also the food scientists, the product developers, the sourcing, the marketing.
Okay, I was going to ask, what kind of professionals that help you develop and cultivate these foods?
So a lot of times research and development jobs, so whether that's a food manufacturer or a restaurant, is you are under marketing, which is interesting. So marketing will tell you, we want a new chicken sandwich, and we kind of know what we want. It needs to be kind of at this price point because we looked at our menu and there's a gap in this price, or we know our consumers are only willing to pay so much or whatever. Hey, we want a new spicy thing. I was like, awesome, let's make it spicy. But remember, it's McDonald's, so it's not really going to be spicy because that consumer, little pepper in there, that's a little spicy for them.
There's guidelines you have to follow.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't make it bold flavors and interesting because less people will buy it. And that is a reality of an R&D professional that I think it's hard for people who are entrepreneurs, who are, restaurant-style chefs, is that it is no longer about what you like, your taste profile. Everything I do is for a customer. There's data supporting why I would make that decision. It's for this kind of consumer, and they will give you feedback. So if I think it's a spicy thing, it needs to be spicy, but, average low-income Americans in the South, their profile is very different than mine. So I want a spicy. Oh, that's way too spicy. That's mild as hell. What are you talking about? So you have to deal with that kind of thing where you're not necessarily giving it your personal preference in what you're developing. I'm so proud. This is exactly what I wanted. You make it to a certain level, and then all the other teams kind of break it apart.
So you're almost tied down to a certain standard.
You're cogging the machine. Yeah. Okay. You're absolutely cogging the machine. I will fully admit that. I lasted 4 years and was like, this is, I need a place where I could make a little more decisions and innovate a little more. So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you think, was food sustainability, did that play a role in your position as a corporate chef for McDonald's?
McDonald's, let's say they decided to make a shrimp po' boy sandwich or something. Okay. McDonald's sells so much food that it could deplete the world resources of shrimp and destroy the entire shrimping industry by how much they sell at any given time. So limited time offers, fresh blueberries. There isn't enough in the world to do that. You would need either a very limited window of sale, or you need to reserve years in advance actual farmland to grow enough blueberries to service a launch of that kind of item. So, and that's just the food side. There's the paper, packaging, straws, everything that goes in the landfills, you know.
Wow.
A big reason why they don't use a lot of the foil wraps and pouches, because that is not, from what we were told, as sustainable as sort of the recyclable paper and stuff like that. So all of that factors into everything. And because McDonald's is so big, all the eyes are on it.
Yeah,
if you watch the news and something is going on, you will see a lot of times everyone's positioning themselves so a McDonald's logo can be in the background. Because when somebody sees it on TV or I recognize it. And they're more than one, even if it's irrelevant to whether there's a big arch right behind you, or this happened near a McDonald's. That was 2 blocks away. That's not near a McDonald's, but I want to say McDonald's. Which is why my TikTok thing, if I don't say McDonald's, the algorithm does not like it. So it's a very, again, unique role to have been in. And
so you still produce content that focuses on McDonald's, even though you're not a corporate chef
just
for that
on
anymore?
a TikTok. So I think I started doing pretty heavy on TikTok like 2 years ago. And at that time, you know, it was creators that are like, what's unique? How are you different than everybody else? Well, how many corporate chefs of McDonald's have there ever been in the world?
I have
24, maybe? How many of those use social media in any capacity whatsoever?
You're about the only one I know.
One of them?
A slim
So
amount.
it is,
That's the only one I
I'm
know.
leveraging my unique work experience and that tagline. I'm a former McDonald's corporate chef. I get to say McDonald's, the credibility of what I'm saying. I'm going to review this because I know what it's like to be in the corporate office developing these things.
True.
Or, look, this is a trash burger. They messed it up, and here's the reasons you might not know. They're supposed to star the cheese on a quarter pounder, or the bun toast looks a little, and so that's more of a credibility play as well as sort of the unique perspective, because there's enough white, bald, bearded guys on the internet that I look just like, so need to differentiate myself in that way.
So as a influencer chef / TikTok superstar, how, for an entrepreneur, what would you say, how important is social media as far as it comes for their business and just their brand? How important is it?
It is incredibly important, because I think now more than ever, people want to know who they're doing business with.
Okay.
Background, who is this person? You know, what do they stand for? Even if they're neutral in a lot of things, do they come off as a nice person? It gives you the opportunity to build that rapport and relationship with your audience, with your customer. They can see what your business is about, what it stands for. Maybe you're a luxury brand, so everything you do on TikTok is elaborate.
Yeah.
And these need to be jewel-encrusted, gold-plated, because I'm worth it and you are worth it, because that's what we deal with. Or maybe you're a health and wellness influencer and you love nature and it's all beautiful sounds and what. So you could kind of, you as a brand, everything you do, say, what people see of you when they go into your business, your product, it is all encompassing. And I am from the era before social media. So like, well, I was talking before, I used to play guitar in a band. So in 2007, my MySpace was awesome. My top 8, top 16 was hot. But I would have to physically go to other shows and hand out CDs that we printed ourselves, because not a lot of people were downloading music. It's not streaming. You know, there was none of those streaming services. So I'd have to get out and physically do that. Now you have an opportunity, if you do a little research into how social media works, you can leverage that and your audience can grow exponentially, because you can get so many eyes on what you're doing versus an ad in a newspaper or a magazine, which that can work for you too. That's important. If you get the right ROI, return on your investment of putting an ad, it might be worth it. But you get a Keith Lee to show up to your restaurant and now you got lines out the door. You got to capitalize on that social media for sure.
You definitely do.
And it's also great to respond to positive and, more importantly, negative reviews. There's some influencer or some company that sells mocktails, so like cans of drink. You could add alcohol or whatever.
Right.
They sent it to some really big influencer. That big influencer tore it apart. You don't know who I am. Why would you send this to me? I don't drink alcohol. So then they flipped it. They're like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. I didn't, we talked with your management and they arranged for us to send it to you. Look, it says mocktail on the can. We are not promoting drinking at all whatsoever. This is a beverage for that. And they were able to flip that and get millions of views because they weren't mean. They explained what happened.
Right.
And you could also put out some fires with social media. At the same time, you could say the dumbest crap
and you
are destroyed. Your business is done. Even if it's just you as an individual say the thing, if you're associated with that business, that brand or whatever, you're trashed. So I do recommend getting a minimal amount of media training, especially this day and age.
Right.
So that way you can avoid saying all the wrong things.
All the wrong things.
I remember you told us about how important it is to be media trained and how you take a negative statement into a positive one. Can you reiterate about that and maybe elaborate more on like,
oh my gosh, you had a bad meal at Dope Drip. I'm so sorry. Can you give us a little feedback? We're going to give you a couple coupons or some for you. You could actually give some to your friends as well.
Right.
Let us know what was wrong. Was something cold or whatever? All right. Thank you so much for the feedback. How about you come back? I'm going to make you a little special meal. All right. So I'll make sure it's hot and fresh. I myself am going to make it for you. So come on back. You tell me when you're going to be there. I'll meet you there. So that person who just tore you up and had a horrible experience is now going to get treated real nice. And if you are willing to leave that bad comment, those people are willing to put the good comment out when, you know what, I went back. So much better. And now you've created a loyalist who could have just said their thing and left. So it is a great opportunity to pivot bad things. Now, there's going to be trolls, and that is something I leverage. It's very difficult to do when people are overtly mean to you for no reason. Maybe they didn't come to your restaurant, to your business. They don't like what you stand for or whatever. I found out on my TikTok, world famous TikTok, that the algorithms like it when there's lots of stuff going on, lots of likes, lots of comments. So when I started saying, I'm a former McDonald's corporate chef, I would start off by getting 10, 15 comments of people like, McDonald's and chef? No, you're not a chef. You're a burger flipper.
Right.
No, there's no chefs at McDonald's. And one video took off because it was hundreds and hundreds of hateful messages about, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm trash.
It just worked out in your favor.
And it worked out. Millions of views.
Right.
So I get a huge following. So now I do try to drop it. I'm a former McDonald's corporate chef because I want those negative comments that I don't care about.
Right.
Nobody's going to read, but the internet thinks that's engagement. So my views skyrocket and everything is okay because why would I care what they think? I know my background.
It is important to have some thick skin at least.
Yeah. Oh,
especially when you're dealing with some social media.
For sure.
It's cool you figured out the strategies on how to like push your content.
Yeah.
So for those who don't have, the same mindset, do you think it's kind of easier to just pay for like a social media manager who can put you on game to these things?
For sure. That would very much speed up the learning process on how all these social media platforms work. So with TikTok specifically, there are certain times of days where there's more active users. So like Friday night, you don't want to be posting anything. Monday morning when everyone gets to work and doesn't want to be there, everyone's scrolling. I don't want to be here. So there's a lot of time. That's a great time to do it. Understanding what viral so on TikTok, hashtags are pretty important. So if you do the right ones, your video now is listed in some searchable category. If it's just random, no, it doesn't know what your content is. But if you do it right, before I came here too, I had to review the chicken Big Mac from McDonald's. Got it. So I took 2 bites. It's not that great. It's a 6 out of 10.
Man, so we hear it first.
It's not that great. But then I do the appropriate hashtags, and it was right at kind of a time everyone's either got home or driving home. Those with traditional, more of the 9 to 5 gig, a lot of eyes on it, and it's a perfect time to make some content.
Exactly.
But each platform is unique. So YouTube is different. Twitter or whatever it's called now is different. Instagram is different. So it's pretty strategic to like make content and then cut it into what you need it for all the different platforms. Like it's not, I filmed this thing, I'm going to post the same thing on all the platforms. You kind of want to format it and adjust it.
Yeah.
Like, you do this amazing podcast where, all right, here's the big long one. Now here's cool little subtopics. So I got 15 different posts of like the 30-second little, oh, that was a good point.
Right.
And here's a good point. And maybe on Instagram, it's more shots of, more images and pictures and whatnot. So I learned it all from straight trial and error. I never hired anyone to do it. It took a long time. And I am fortunate my job's a little different than yours. I still work for the man. You're hustling all the time. So you do not have the time to just mess around and make some videos. This is great. So if you hire a social media person to sort of deal with that, they'll tell you like, you know what, this is good content. Let's film this. This is good. And then we'll post it at the right time, and I'll upload it, and I'll make sure that it's crisp and clean, and we get views and respond to comments while you're doing the actual work. And making lots of money. But having a social media person, whether it's a manager, a consultant, or if you're big enough and have a dedicated person, so much value could come from that.
Yeah, I definitely learned it though. I learned it.
You just try. I'll post videos and people will see it.
No, not at all.
I was in a band. I'm so awesome. My band is so great. I'm just going to show up to a venue and I'm going to have a huge audience. Nobody knows I was playing the show. I played for 10 people. I need to go promote that the thing is happening. So you got to figure out how to do that for maximum return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then also, well, for the viewers that don't know, Mike is also my neighbor at the hatchery.
Yes, we are.
We are neighbors there. He actually does work for
Foodology by Univar Solutions. That's the biggest corporate entity name that you could like. Foodology by Univar Solutions, trademarked. Working for the man still.
And what is your role there?
So I am the corporate chef and culinary development lead. So my company sells we're like a broker for ingredients.
Okay.
We sell a bunch of big companies' ingredients to food manufacturers, food processors, entrepreneurs, and stuff like that. And it is my job to either use those ingredients and show you the cool thing. Like, look I made this. Now, sometimes it's awesome. Like, here's a cool, spicy, some kind of aioli, awesome sauce. Sometimes here's a plant-based bratwurst that we've been working on that's with pea protein and fava protein. And
sounds delicious.
All right. Yes. Now, a lot of my job is making things that are not my shtick. Like, I will make the best version of it, but I'm not a consumer of that thing. That's the R&D chef side where you got to give and take a little. Like, no, I'm not going to. A cheap tuna salad for Walmart. Yeah,
I'm not going to try
it's not my favorite, but I'll make a good one.
Right.
So it's that if you have the mentality of somebody comes in your restaurant and wants a well-done steak, all right, I'm going to try to make them the best well-done steak. I don't think that's how you should eat your steak.
Right.
And if they put ketchup on it, that even hurts my soul even more. But to each their own. Do I not want that business? No, I'm going to make the best dang well-done steak you've ever had.
And bring you some ketchup on the side.
And bring you some ketchup. I'll get you that Heinz, or you want that off-brand? You want that Red Gold or store brand? Whatever you want. I got you. Okay. Steak sauce, smother it in steak sauce? Sure.
And from your McDonald's role to the role that you play now, what's the pros and the cons that you would...
The pros is... people leave me alone. It is not nearly as high profile, so I don't have protesters outside my office. I don't have every other, we have a corporate office in Downers Grove, so not too far from here. But like, I don't have people from my company just walking up to my desk and asking for all of this obnoxious stuff that is none of my business to be a part of, which would happen regularly at McDonald's. The downside is when I was at McDonald's, everybody is your friend. Everybody wants to work with McDonald's, wants to work for McDonald's, want to sell you things. I could have gone out to dinner every night, played golf every weekend, all that. There were a lot of people there who enjoyed that kind of thing. I was never liked people trying to buy my affection with free things like that. That's not going to affect my job. I got a life. I don't want to stay here another couple hours so you can wine and dine me. But then you work for a universe where we're now the seller of ingredients who would sell the food. Nobody's calling me for any reason. I have to call them and I have to butter them up and take them out to dinner and do the schmoozing and wine so they would buy my stuff. So it is basically I went from the end of the chain goes to McDonald's to like the beginning of the chain. Right. A food manufacturer would buy my ingredients. That food manufacturer's product is a component of something else that would then be sold to McDonald's. So I'm down on the chain. No one even knows my name. That is the other downside of R&D Chef Life is I've developed hundreds upon hundreds of products you all have probably had. Frozen pizzas, frozen breakfast sandwiches, stuff in the deli counter, all those prepared salads, pizzas at, let's say, Sam's Club or Costco in the, how they...
Right.
I have developed many of those items, and nobody would know that it was me that did the work to make it happen. It's not Chef Mike's recipe. It's Costco brand or Kroger brand or Whole Foods.
Right.
So that part is a little different. The other good side, though, although some of the projects are unique, like plant-based bratwurst, I can do a lot more things. So I'm always learning because there's product categories that I've never created a vegan marshmallow fluff thing before. Let's figure it out. I would not be making that at McDonald's, but I can do that here. So it's kind of the give and take.
Yeah. How creative you can get.
Yeah.
Do you think you can walk us through the process of getting these kinds of foods into stores?
Yes. So, and what I think is cool... So basically, it's called like a product development process. Whether it's food, TVs, cars, windows, the podcast, starting a podcast studio. It's from blue sky ideation. Like, what do we want? What do you want to make? Who's the customer? Everybody the customer? That's not really feasible. So let's say we want to do plant-based something or other. So now we know who our customer is. We do research on that customer. What's trending? What flavors are trending? What ingredients are either trending positive or negative? Because the internet loves to villainize and praise things for no reason whatsoever. Like, we can't eat that. That's made out of wood shavings, in Parmesan cheese. It's like, all right.
Leave it to the internet to figure it out.
But then you eat cinnamon, which is from a tree bark, basically. So you're eating the same. Cinnamon's cool, but you don't want it in the other. I'm not going to get on the soapbox. I'm not going to get in trouble because I've been media trained. But it's those kinds of things.
Right.
So now we're sort of targeting what are those consumers willing to pay for things. So now we got a kind of a target there. What stores are they going to be sold at? Oh, Whole Foods? Well, I know that there's a list of ingredients that they do not allow in their food items. So I can't use any of those that we have, but I got this toolbox of ingredients I can use. Who's going to manufacture this? So if it's XYZ company, I know the equipment they have in their facility. Well, they can't process it this way, so I have to make it this kind of way. What does shelf life need to be in order to hit supply chain and last long enough? Here's the target shelf life. It's got to last 60 days in a refrigerator or whatever, or in a freezer, yada, yada.
Has to be sustainable.
Has to be sustainable. Do those consumers at a Whole Foods care about sustainability? They absolutely do. If we're going to Walmart, I could do whatever. I could cheap as possible. McDonald's, basically cheap as possible. Whole Foods, no. No. They are, want to know about their food, where it comes from, where it's sourced. Is it GMO free? Is it gluten free? Are they on a paleo diet? All of those kinds of things.
Okay.
So once you've got all that information, you haven't even made anything yet. Nothing has been cooked. So now it's let's get on the bench. So that's what we'll call it in a R&D lab. We'll get on the bench and make the thing like a chef would make it. So here's a gold standard. If you're making a TV, it's the first TV. If you're making a car, it's that clay. You know how they like make the car what it looks like, mold it. All right, now we got the one. This is the aspirational thing we want to make. Can we make it all the time? Is it feasible? Do we got to make adjustments? All right, no, yeah, it's way too expensive. So now we got to make it cheaper. Now we got to do this. Now we got to do that. So then you finally got a prototype. This is the real thing. One of them.
Right.
Now you go into, let's say, pilot plant or plant trials. You have to go into a manufacturing facility and try it out. You're going to get a whole lot of hiccups with that. So then you got to do it over. You got to test it, yada, yada. And finally, plant trial went good. We've sourced all the ingredients. We know who the customer is. This store is going to have the product. Our shelf spot is ready to go. We've got to deliver it on this date. You are now manufacturing the item. But you have to make extra because there's got to be stuff on the shelf and there's got to be stuff in storage. So when the stuff on the shelf goes away, you already got the backup. So you're planning ahead of time. Bad weather happens and nobody wants to buy that thing anymore. Now I got excess inventory of the thing. What do I get?
Wow.
It never ends. It is a never-ending process. But basically, the development process is the same as everything else. What do we want to make? And then we narrow it down till we finally got the thing.
Right.
Okay.
And if you can do that using logic, using data of why I would make that decision, your chance of success is far greater. If you are, I'm Chef Mike and I want this, my pierogies from grandma's recipe are the best. So everyone should have it, not realizing that my grandma was a horrible cook and these pierogies are trash, but it's just what I grew up on and I like it.
Right.
Nobody's going to buy it. Should I have done that? No. Or when you open you open a restaurant. Yeah. Busha was pretty good cook. That was just an example. Or like you want to open up a specific ethnic style restaurant in an area of the city. Are people in that area, do they want that? Right. Are there too many of those? Right. Is this your passion? I want a vegan plant. Everything is vegan meat. Okay. Do you think in a rural, suburb is a good place for that? Or is a downtown, modern city, young folk, trendy, high income area?
Open-minded
to that kind of, we better do it there because if you open it over there, nobody is going to go to it. So all of those things factor in. And if you can have data and numbers and things to support what you're doing, not saying you're going to be successful, but your chances of success are far greater.
Far greater.
I went on a rant, I think, on this whole process.
That's pretty good.
I just kept going.
I got a good understanding.
Okay,
It was pretty good.
If you ever need me to slow down, you
No,
pull the ratings, all right? Because I could go.
Granny might catch you after the show.
Busha's going to get the wooden spoon out. That's what she used to do. You get that wooden spoon and you got to run because grandma strength.
Ooh, man.
She could whack. Bow. Yep.
Okay, so you were also on a show called Heroes and Feast.
Heroes Go Feast.
Heroes Go Feast?
Is that right?
I know. I'll give you each one
Heroes
more try.
Feast.
Boom!
Boom, got it. See,
okay.
Heroes Feast.
I don't know where
Heroes
the go came
Feast.
from.
So, we have a different background, would you say?
Yeah.
So I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up. You did not.
Not at all.
No. You probably were like, come on.
Yeah, not Dungeons.
That is a video game, right?
There are also video games of it, but it is that tabletop game where people are rolling dice with your little elf and dwarf. And Did you see Stranger Things? Did you ever watch Stranger Things?
Don't you guys
somewhat.
like Cosmic Play too? Like
Cosplay? Some people do. That's deep into it. I never cosplay as it, but you could. Basically, it's a fantasy board game where you could do whatever you want and you roll dice. It's very nerdy. It's fantasy football for like theater nerds is how I would describe it.
Okay.
Because you're not actually doing any of the things, just like fantasy football. You're not playing football. You're not a manager. It's all fun and games with your friends.
Right.
That is what Dungeons and Dragons is. But because I publicly talk about nerdy things, I got a phone call from some producer one day. It was like, hey, I Google searched D&D chef, and you were the first person that popped up. Want to host a cooking show? Yes, I do.
Let's do it.
Sign me up. What's it all about? Well, there was this cookbook that was already made by some other chef called Hero's Feast, which is for all the nerds out there. I don't know who your audience is going to be, but any of you nerds out there who play Dungeons and Dragons, Hero's Feast is the thing you could do in the game to prep for your battle. You get a little extra, bonus.
So you eat?
Yeah, so you get a nice little feast before you start fighting all the ogres and whatnot and your dragons.
Love it.
They made a cookbook of it. The Hasbro, the big company that owns everything, is like, hey, we want to make a cooking show to promote it. Sounds good. So everything lines up, and then there is a strike happening. This was during the actors' strike. So they were like, hey, no, we can still do our show because... the writer's strike happened first. SAG-AFTRA writer's strike happened first. And they're like, hey, it's okay. We could still do the show because we're meeting deadlines and, the way the show... But just to let you know, we can't give you lines. There's no script or anything or prompter. So just come host
wing it.
A show.
Yeah. Just come wing it.
100%. And I was like, should I cook we'll figure it out when we get to the studio in California. So... I show up. There's a co-host, Sujata Day, who was amazing, who's an actress, a producer. She's got a movie on Netflix called Definition Please that she directed and wrote and did all herself. Great mentor to me on how all that business works. But it was, okay, you're all here. Cook these items. What do you need, chef? I'm like, I don't know. I've never cooked the things before. Well, look in the book and tell us what you need. I was like, so what you're telling me is I'm hosting a cooking show with no script, with a co-host. You have a unique guest every time, and I got to cook a thing from a book that I've never cooked before.
With the guest?
With the guest. All right, let's learn together. So it ended up being a show where it's like, we're going to learn, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to mess up. We're going to fix it. I'm kind of like a resource. Like, this is what the book says, but I would add a little extra this if you want. And it was more of that, like a Snoop and Martha potluck show where just like guests come in, talking to promote whatever they got going on. We're promoting the book, having a good old time. And the only other reason why I got that show was because when the pandemic hit, I lost my job. I worked at some other company for like 5 months. And then global pandemic hits, and they're like, bye. Great, I'm jobless. So I have to become a consultant. And I was like, I do social media stuff. Might as well start a YouTube channel. So I started doing this YouTube channel of like, hey, do you not know how to cook? Don't like cooking? Let's make some mashed potatoes. This is how you do it. 25-minute long YouTube videos of making mashed potatoes. Not a big audience. Not a lot of people watched it. But some producer was looking up stuff, and they're like, hey, I saw a video of you cooking caramelized onions for 15 minutes, being able to fill the time just talking nonsense
about caramelizing
onions. You would be a great host for a TV show, specifically a scriptless one where we need you to just yap.
Yep.
So sign me up. So if a pandemic didn't happen, I didn't work for McDonald's, didn't have a social media sort of background. Right. If I didn't make YouTube videos that nobody saw, a producer wouldn't have seen it, and I would not have hosted a TV show. But all the stars had to align for that opportunity to happen.
So
craziness.
So basically, what you're saying to an entrepreneur is basically even the steps.
Roll with it.
Even the steps that nobody sees you take, you should.
Absolutely. 150% is do the thing. And if you are not doing anything, your business isn't growing. I lost my job. I needed to do things. So my goal with YouTube was not to become a YouTube star. It was to just get my face out there, facial recognition. Yeah. Here's content so you don't forget me. I started with just my iPhone on the counter. And then I was like, all right, let's upgrade. So then I didn't want to invest a lot of money because at that time too, early in the pandemic, people were just making stuff.
Right.
I used to play in bands. I got microphone stands and I got old moving blankets. Now I got soundproofing. You know what? I'll spend $60 on some lights. Now I got better lighting in my kitchen, but I didn't know how to set it up. So there's an episode or two where everything is just shiny. It's like, oh, I should reflect it off the ceiling. So I learned about that. I'm like, why is everything so echoey? Because my phone is all the way over there. So I need a microphone.
Right.
Man, I can't afford a wireless, so I got a 75-foot lightning cable into my iPhone that I would skirt down the counter up my chef coat.
Of your coat?
To put right here. And I'm sure everyone's aware, I'm pretty loud. Way too loud. So it would be like, as you would expect.
Muffler, yeah.
So I had to figure out, I have to turn my microphone upside down so it
it can
sounds
pick up the
better. So it
after
sounds
effect.
better.
Yeah.
It's not like. So I learned all of these things, and then I was like, oh, these are. I should probably edit these a little bit, and maybe have. So I got that $2 iPhone editing software, and then I learned how to. And I'm like, oh, that edit sucks, or I should remember to plug my microphone in. So then I started doing it when I was editing. I'd always put like little words on, like, oh, this is add this much. And then I would yell at myself like, hey, Chef Mike, how about you look at the camera while you're talking? Because you're just staring off in the distance. So I'm yelling at myself, and that became a shtick that people kind of like, oh, that was pretty cool. But if you're not continually doing something, go on social media, make a little post about your brand. Go to a podcast kind of event in Chicago, around Harlem Irving Plaza, where entrepreneurs meet. Your buddy named
Los.
Yeah, and you could totally use his podcast studio.
Yeah.
Shout outs.
Flavor.
You always got a shout out.
Flavor, shout out, definitely.
Yeah, put that up on the screen of this video, the address and how great it is.
It definitely is a great studio.
Boom! I got him in the back. He's probably like this in the back. He's shaking his head.
Yeah.
Yes. He's done this before.
Yep.
Yes, I
Shout out to
am.
Los.
So now that you're shouting out, where would the audience be able to find that Heroes Feast?
All right. It's probably pretty difficult. So there is a free streaming service called Plex.
Okay.
And if you go on there, I got 20 episodes. They're all an hour long. If you search Heroes Feast, it will pop up. We've got guests like Matthew Lillard, who you know from Five Nights at Freddy's, Scream,
Scooby-Doo icon.
Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
We got Kari Payton, who was King Ezekiel on The Walking Dead. The guy, I think he had a tiger buddy, and he's the voice on Teen Titans of Cyborg.
Oh,
and
cool.
He does all kinds of other voices. We had an assortment of famous people.
Claire Grant.
Claire Grant, Seth Green's wife, and a goofball in her own right. All kinds of fun stuff. And then you have like the Dungeons and Dragons famous people that none of you would know.
Were you ever starstruck by all of these celebrities?
Kari-
Especially Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard. So I was more starstruck by Kari Payton only because Matthew Lillard was the first guest of the first episode.
Really?
I have no idea what I'm doing. And Matthew Lillard comes out just pulling knives. And I was like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing in a show? One thing about the show, if you watch them in order, it gets much more polished and organized as it goes. So the first episode is like, I don't know what.
All the crazy.
We got to throw it to commercial. What camera do I'm looking off in the
Just
space?
going with the flow.
By the end, we got to, hey, everyone's can eat at our table and our shtick, and let's throw it to, look right at the camera. Let's throw it to commercial. Be right back. We're going to finish this soup up. All right, see ya. And then we pretend to talk as the thing fades because you learn that you're supposed to not just stare at the camera and let it fade. You just got to, all right, go back to what you're doing. And but Kari Payton, just because I was a big Walking Dead fan and all that, and he has a buttery smooth voice. So when you listen to this man talk about whatever, ooh, the Barry White, bassy, like
Barry White.
This guy's got a voice on him. So, but yeah, it's not super starstruck, but like I'm pretty good with. I don't think there's a lot of people I'd be starstruck. Like I can't talk. I'd just be super excited.
Excited, right?
Yeah.
I would if I had the opportunity.
Who would
to
be
do
your
that.
number one? Like, if you had a guest that you would want sitting right here,
On this podcast, I don't know.
Who's your number one celebrity?
Well, I'm into like rappers, female rappers, so I'm always gonna say like Nicki Minaj,
Oh,
know. But
I would like to be here for that. I'll just sit in the back.
Sit in the back.
Yeah.
No, but I definitely
Check out the video. for
I
you.
admire like up and coming artists, who are as credible like as you are in their career, who give a lot to the community and do more things with their platform. So I would be more excited to speak to those types
sure.
of people than like my idol. You know what I mean? Because
Nice.
I'll just forget when I'm,
That's
right.
when I'm supposed to be talking
Out of
about.
conversation.
Remember that one song? It's so good.
You know, like, off
I sung
topic.
that. Who would you want? Who's your number one?
Man, I'm Chicago, so I would, I don't know. I would want somebody doing something like Chance the Rapper would be
Yeah,
dope to be right
dude.
here.
True.
For
That'd be
sure.
dope. That would be just because he's doing so much. Vic Mensa is doing a lot of things too, also in Chicago.
Yeah.
That, you know, entrepreneur stuff, like giving back to the community. I'm really big on that.
For sure. I think we talked about this on our first podcast episode. If you know, like you were talking like somebody like me in the rap game in Chicago or whatever, but
Yeah.
you know, there's super big famous people. There's Chicago famous people. There's local struggling artists. There's the influencers who go around and review rap music from a small big. Everything that there is, it's the same. Dungeons and Dragons, there's the big famous guys. There's
Right.
Matthew Lillard. There's Kevin Smith. There's Joe Manganiello. Magic Mike plays with The Big Show from WWE and Tom Morello. They all play Dungeons and Dragons. They're the big guys. Well, then there's D&D famous, your Critical Roles, your everybody on Dropout. And then there's the small guys. There's the Iffy Nwadaway. There's sports fanatics, local sports radio, national news, football, everyone has their same kind of network of groups and friends. And if you understand that, you may not like Dungeons and Dragons, but you know what it's like to love your thing.
Right.
I love my thing. That's how other people like their thing. So if you want to, even though Dungeons and Dragons ain't your thing, you could understand why I've got all this Dungeons and Dragons dice and books and stupid stuff in my basement because you've been into a Chicago Bears basement where it's just blue and orange and everything is just, this whole building is Bears focused.
Right.
There are fanatics in every genre just like that.
Yeah. What doesn't work for you will work for
That's
other
right.
people.
That's right. So don't talk down to a thing that you don't understand.
Yep.
Even though it's not your thing, that's cool.
And you
It
might be
doesn't
able
have
to learn from it too.
You could totally learn from it
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
might be able to learn from it. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely
like
is.
I've never played Dungeons and Dragons before, but I would be open on playing. I'm just open-minded like that.
Well, let's get a game going. Then
I'm
next
down.
episode, we're gonna
David,
play
you're
Dungeons and
down?
Dragons.
After the interview, we're on.
I'll get some
We're
dice.
on.
All right, we're in a
on.
fantasy round. I will describe it this easy, this super simple. So, if you were like some badass, could do whatever you want type of warrior person, what kind of like weapon would you have? You want a big sword, bow and
huge sword.
All right, so
Huge
you're a
sword,
big
yeah.
barbarian, just beast with a big sword. You go into a dungeon and there is this goofy looking worm thing. What do you do?
You attack. I
You
mean,
just
is
want to
that-
attack it right out the
stab
gate?
it. You stab
It's
it.
pretty cute.
Is it?
I'm stabbing it.
Well,
Uh-uh.
because I'm thinking like sci-fi fantasy. The cute looking
Right, I'm
creatures are
stabbing it.
usually
I'm
the
stabbing it.
terrorizing ones.
Yep.
All right, so you just run up and stab it. So what you would do is you would roll dice. You got
Okay.
a 20-sided dice. Depending on the roll, and you're a big old barbarian with a big sword, you're really strong. So you're really good with the sword. You're obviously a proficient warrior. You're awesome. So whatever you roll, you get a +5 because you're badass. I mean, obviously you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
So you roll, you hit the thing, you killed it. However, you forgot to search the room because Mama Worm is in the corner that just saw you kill its baby. So now you got a 40-foot worm thing that is running at you.
no.
What do? Oh, I'm going to run away. You're a big old barbarian with armor and stuff. You can't run fast. Roll the dice to try to run away. Oh, you rolled bad. And you got armor. That slows you down. That's minus points.
Oh man.
And you could just do that for 10 years of what do you do now? Go into town, talk
Yeah.
to somebody.
Is it a board that you're walking
you
in?
can,
or
in
something?
some time you can, or you just make it up in your head.
So it's like improv. You're
It's
just
improv.
adding just certain
what do you want to do?
scenarios.
You have a sheet that your character, like, I'm really good at. So let's say you're a bard. So that's somebody who plays guitar and, kind of lonely, want to go in a pub and maybe get some company. So I go in and start playing some music. So I roll. How well do I play guitar? Oh my gosh, you're the greatest guitar player in the world. Everybody in that room is melting to which one you like? You're like, oh, you want to maybe come back? So you roll that Riz. The only reason why I know what Riz is because charisma is a stat in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm like, Riz, that's charisma, isn't it? That's how smooth you can be. Well, you know how to pull them. Roll that dice. Oh my gosh, it's the highest score ever. Easy peasy. You are now have a wonderful evening. And you can just, do that, and different scenarios happen, and there is just some boss, a dungeon master, they call him, that facilitates like, all right, this is a very difficult thing. I'm going to hide what the number is, but you got to roll a certain number. If you do it, you succeed. If you fail,
You're dead.
Doesn't work.
Oh, wow.
And you just go. You can just do it for forever. It does not need to end, or you can figure out like how to end the story.
We should definitely make a Chicago.
A Chicago urban
one. An urban one. Like, there's 3 gangbangers in the corner in Humboldt Park.
100%. You got it.
Park. What do? Do you run?
You got an enforcer. He's really good. He's got brass knuckles.
Right.
You've got lookouts.
Right.
You've got getaway. You've got supply and demand, sourcing, dealing.
I cannot.
All of those
What are
people
we
are
doing?
good with different things.
Yeah.
What kind of car do you got? Is it? I got the.
Is it a
super
hoopty?
fat.
Is it a hoopty?
Yeah.
Is it a hoopty?
Like,
Let's
is it?
roll.
Oh, you forgot to put gas in the car.
man.
You ain't going anywhere.
You're stuck out west.
But that's literally exactly what it is. You could do it on any setting. You brought the suburban guy to this? No. Very Al's under the. You brought Dylan? No.
You're getting jacked.
You are. You lost real bad. So that system can apply to any story. Football, you got teammates. I'm good at kicking. Well, the quarterback's going to try to punt now. He sucks. So no matter how good you roll, doesn't work.
Pull.
Yeah. So that's kind of how the game works.
Pretty cool.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
It's a little different.
That's pretty
That's why theater kids like it, because you just.
Yeah.
And then to your point, like, oh, I want to be the character, so I'm going to dress up in whatever, and I have a big sword in my hand, and like people get
really
all
into
about
it.
Really
I've
into
seen
it.
them. I've seen them. I've
Yeah.
seen them.
Just like those people who paint their bodies and at 0 temperature will show their bear's belly at a Bears
At a
game.
game,
They're
yeah.
obsessed with it.
Crazy.
That's cool too. That's cosplay.
That's their thing.
That's their thing.
So you just gotta stay strong to your thing.
Absolutely.
That's cool. That's a good message, at least, you know?
Yeah.
And it's something that I wouldn't have never thought of getting from Dungeons and Dragons.
Right? Dungeons and Dragons can teach you so many things.
Well, definitely.
Now instead of going to the gym and doing all the other things like being an entrepreneur, you got to
I gotta
10
play
hours
Dungeons
a
and
week
Dragons.
to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Okay, so
How you gonna pivot? Pivot to a different question now. What do we got?
oh well, right now we can definitely cosplay into. Matter of fact, talking about cosplay, what were your different roles in different? Because I know you had more than the McDonald's and
Yeah.
where you at now. So where were you?
So
Play different roles in different restaurants.
I started working legally in restaurants at 15, but I would go to like other little small places and just hang
Right.
out and do my
Right.
thing. In high school, I was part of this Pro Start thing where I would leave high school early to go work because I was like, I'm not feeling high school. I'd much rather work, so I'd work in restaurant, all kinds of from Pizzeria Uno's Fridays to catering. I work for country clubs and stuff like that. I worked at restaurants all through college. I went to Johnson Wales in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So it's a nice place if
Yeah.
you've
Right.
ever never been there. But when I got into culinary school, I was like, you know what? I want to have a life, and I like doing all these ridiculous things. 80 hours a week, chance of success of opening a restaurant, that's a risk.
Definitely.
So then I learned about that food science side of things and research and development chef. And I'm just like, I could work 9 to 5 and probably make more money than if I was, working in a restaurant. And yeah, sign me up and learn that. I always liked science. I'm of the era of Alton Brown, Good Eats, and Emeril Lagasse on Food Network. So there was the whole bam and putting the show on. So I was like, I want to be more in that kind of, space. So then I did an internship at a food manufacturing facility in Wheeling, Illinois. Got a job before I even graduated. That last trimester of college, I have a job already lined up. I do not care
Beautiful.
about this
Right.
schooling shenanigans. I got a job. I signed the paperwork. I just need to pass to get out of here. I still did pretty good, but I don't want to toot my own horn. But so I worked at a company called Orville Kent Foods. I worked at this culinary sales support, which is like an agency, a marketing and culinary agency. I worked at Nation Pizza and Foods, which is frozen pizza manufacturing. So your DiGiorno's and your California Pizza Kitchen frozen pizzas and French bread pizzas, like Stofers and stuff like that. Worked for a seasoning and spice company. Worked at McDonald's. Worked in a flavor house. Completely random. They're all sort of R&D, but they're all very unique. And I don't consider myself like great at anything. I'm very much a generalist in R&D world. So I've developed. I'm not the best at any one thing, like a flavorist who can taste the thing and spout out a chemical compound. I know what flavor that is. Can't do that. Not nearly good enough. But I have a general understanding of a lot of the different things that in a role that I'm in now, where we're developing anything from a beverage to a baked good to plant-based to marinade. I have enough experience and know the R&D process to just like figure that out. So very unique. Again, a lot of people don't know my job is even a real thing.
So out of all those roles, which one you think that played? Which one did you like the most, and which one do you think played the biggest role in like your development?
I mean, the McDonald's gig set me up on social media. I was a part of a couple things. So the Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce, when that came out, all of you young folks might not know what that is. But Rick and Morty on their 3rd season said, McDonald's, we want this Szechuan sauce to come back. And I was the chef. I'm like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And it became a viral internet thing and blew up. So I got a big following because of that. And then because of that, I tried to leverage being a Chef Mike internet person as a McDonald's employee. So I'll come on your podcast and do this goofy thing. I'm a chef. And I tried to get McDonald's to support me in doing that. And they did not want to do that. So then life got a little harder over there because I was like, oh, I'm doing really good social media stuff. Here's numbers.
Why wouldn't they?
Because the man wants to control things.
You put out there.
Yeah.
You put out there.
So my boss at the time was not having it. Did not like the fact that anytime there was any kind of event in the building, hey, is Chef Mike around? We want Chef Mike. Oh, yeah. We saw you on the internet. Right. And my boss,
he didn't like that.
Not at all. Not one bit. So got a little, I had to literally leave McDonald's for my own mental health at that point. I liked it there in the beginning, and then it was like I can't be here anymore. Right. So I learned quite a bit of how exciting it could be to work for the big brand, to be a part of a big thing, how that can drastically change. You go from loving a job to not feeling it at all. I learned what it's like to be a top dog where everyone is calling you, like, hey, what do you need? Do you need a thing? To you are non-existent. All those friends that would take you out to dinner and want to supply you with, they don't even know who you are anymore.
Right.
And so I learned quite a bit of that. I mean, my role now is a lot of fun and unique because I got to open that kitchen. They gave me the credit card and was like, make an R&D kitchen. So, all right, what spoons do we want? I want these ones. What plates? What equipment? So that was a pretty big learning experience. But I think my first job out of college at Orville Kent Foods that makes a lot of deli salads was, half of the job is coming up with a food item and how to make it and how to manufacture it. But the other half is sales. The research chef is in front of customers. They're at Walmart's headquarters in Bentonville, Arkansas, trying to pitch the product to this is why you need this pesto tortellini salad because trends, try it. Oh my gosh, yeah, I added a little of this. So it's a sales role. So when you're in a sales role, you learn how to talk and schmooze and do all that kind of thing. Again, a valuable lesson to learn in business, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you work for a big corporate, you know how to navigate that corporate political kind of structure, whether it's big megacorp or you are a new entrepreneur. That is a valuable lesson on if you want to talk to the big dogs, you want to get into Costco, you want to get your product on Whole Foods shelf, how do you engage with that purchaser, buyer, audience to get your stuff on the shelf? I learned a lot of that at my first job. So applying that, and I think the only other thing in my life that I learned a lot about just life lessons was being in an original metal band that no one saw. How do you get people to come to your show? How do you be a good community member? Our podcast, what's his gentleman's name? Los, we were talking that he was at an event where, entrepreneurs are hanging out and networking. Well, if you're a band that no one saw before, yes, you can. And at that time, social media wasn't huge. I got to go to shows, rub elbows with people. Here's my CD. Come to the show again. And get street teams and promote flyers and all that. Apply that to a corporate job. How do I influence in this company? How do I get the purchasing person on the phone? How do I be, the hatchery is a great example of you're working with Cajun chefs, Cajun Cafe. Fatso's you might consult with. There's someone else you might do a collab with.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why Univar wanted their kitchen in that building, to network and be part of a community.
Right.
So what I learned from being in a band no one heard of, I apply that to my work life all the time. Right. How do I be good in the corporate structure? How do I be good community member at the hatchery? Right. Maybe I got to go on somebody's podcast twice because the first one not as good. That's what I got to do to be a good friend. Absolutely made it happen. Got a little upgrade here. Like it quite a bit. So
made it happen.
Using those skills that you learned in other fields into whatever position you're in now. That brings me to ask this question. So based on your education and your real life experiences, what qualities should a person possess if they want to excel in this industry?
And we're talking food industry, right?
Industry, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you are trying to be an entrepreneur, develop your own items, be your own brand kind of person, you have to thick skin, I think, is number one, because you're going to have people who are just not going to support. Why are you doing that? No, I wouldn't eat that. Oh, that's no good. Why wouldn't you make, why aren't you doing Polish food, dude?
Right.
Like, dude, there's a big Polish neighborhood in Chicago. Why would you? That's not what I want to do. So there's a little bit of finding your niche, finding your audience, who it's going to be. Then there's also the thick skin of, is this a passion project that I think is going to be successful, or am I trying to really make money? Because when I consult with some folks at the hatchery who are like, oh, my grandma's pie recipe, I want to start manufacturing that. Cool. So how do you make it? Well, I take whipped cream, I just whip it, put it on the pie. But now I want to freeze it. And every time I freeze it, the whipped cream settles and it doesn't, whipped cream does not freeze.
Right.
Well, what should I do? Well, you could add all these ingredients to. No, I don't want to do that. That's not mom's recipe.
So then you don't want.
So what do you want to do then? Not put the whipped cream on, or do you want to adjust? You need to pivot quite a bit to deal with whatever the market. Oh, egg prices are going through the roof. You make cakes and whatnot. What are you going to do about it? You going to charge more? Oh, but my customers, try to not raise prices. Okay, now you're losing money. What are you going to do? So being able to pivot and deal with whatever scenario is happening in front of you, super important. Media training, because not only on media, but you're talking to a disgruntled employee who doesn't want to be there. How do you motivate them to be like, listen, I believe in you, dude. I want, this is not just my baby anymore. This is us as a team, and I want nothing but success for you. Like, what can I do to help you?
Right.
If you're not liking this job, I'll help you. I'll fill out your resume. You need me to review it. I'll get you somewhere where you want to be. Like, I believe in you as a person.
Right.
So how do you get, even though inside you're like, I'm paying this person to not do anything helpful for me at all. What is going on here? But you need to be able how to motivate, how to talk, how to not say, get brought into HR's office and do all that. I think if you've got that drive, the heart to do it, awesome. And even if you're an entrepreneur, you want to be the best IT person at some big corporate office, be the best one. Figure out how to be the best, how to be nice and humble. And yes, you need to unplug and plug it back in again, Gladys. I told you 9 times, okay? Get it. You don't want to be mean to Gladys. Gladys might be an influencer in the corporate structure. So Gladys, just unplug it, plug it. You're good. Oh, thank you. And he's so nice down there. Because now you could slack off because Gladys thinks you're awesome. And Gladys has the ear of the executive because it's his assistant. or her assistant. So now you're sitting pretty because you figured out the political game.
Yeah.
And social media is the same way. How do I get Keith Lee to come to my restaurant?
Right.
That's who I want, or some other local Chicago reviewers, or yada yada. How do I make Keith Lee? You know what? I'm just
Strategizing.
We're struggling. You know, we're not getting them out, but I think we're worth it. Here's the background. Here's a hit. Oh, come out and give us a try. I think you're gonna like. All of that can be applied to everything that you do. I got to deal with my little kids, my 2 daughters. How do I get them to eat their food or brush their teeth? I can't just yell at them constantly. They want, oh, how about you? Oh, you just lost your 2 teeth? Oh, your big girl teeth are coming in. If you don't brush those.
Yeah.
Those are not coming in.
Those, you lose those. You don't have any more. What? I only get, you got to treat those really good. You got to brush those. Oh, okay.
Look at this nice.
Figured it out. Just brush your teeth because I told you to. Just do that. It would be great. But
This nice Cinderella toothbrush. There
oh,
you go.
we got Bluey. We're Bluey folks in our house. I don't know if any Bluey fans out there. Hey-oh.
Bluey. I haven't heard that.
No, that's all right. My kids are of a certain age right
I
now.
haven't heard that.
Yeah.
Bluey.
Pretty cool. Okay, so finding your niche, being adaptable, media training, and being humble and kind. So those are fine qualities.
Being kind is pretty nice. I think
Yeah.
that's probably number one, I would say.
Yeah.
Is being not so nice, probably not great.
Nah,
I would
will
assume.
not work in your favor.
Just start closing doors for yourself.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. Well, Mike, we do appreciate you
That's
for
it?
coming. Well,
I think I answered like 3 questions because I just kept yapping.
no, you
that- are we sure?
you gave our viewers
yes.
a whole lot of information, and we
Absolutely.
truly appreciate you for the second time coming here and actually giving us just letting the world know as far as like what we're trying to do. We're trying to push, especially we're trying to push like the knowledge that a lot of people don't get, a lot of the entrepreneurs don't get. So we truly appreciate you coming and sharing some of your knowledge and a lot of your great stories that you gave
Yes.
us
Absolutely.
today.
Oh, and so then the next episode,
Okay.
you get to pick the story because I got 3. So one of them is the Szechuan sauce, how I broke the internet, a global internet viral event. I could explain to you, and I have my wife's approval to talk about how I have the most official Cubs World Series baby ever,
Ooh.
without a doubt.
Let's do that. We're gonna have to wrap both of them up in one.
Or
Sure.
how I almost got killed by a biker gang, but then ended
my
up
gosh.
getting part of the gang.
Bro,
That's the third
Plot
one. So
twist.
you could pick.
we definitely are going to have you here again. because
Absolutely.
You
We
Get
look
one of
forward
those.
to collaborating
you are
with you.
definitely, man. You have definitely a lot of good stories,
I've done
great
some
stories.
things.
Because I mean, we know me and you've dabbled a lot, so I definitely know about a lot of your stories. But we need you to come bring them out. We definitely need the Szechuan sauce, the
All right.
recipe.
Yeah.
we need the recipe.
It's not that good. It's not. It's like sweet and sour with a little extra soy. It's like the McDonald's version was never good. That's why they like took it off the menu. It's all like
Well, we need your version.
yeah. We'll make a better version.
We need your version, and we need to know why they took out the straws from McDonald's too. We need
yeah.
to know that. Sustainability. Yeah, we appreciate it. But before we leave, how could our viewers find you if they want to catch you on social media, on TikTok? We know you're a celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
But you can always use a whole lot more.
For sure. You just Google search my name and it's spelled just like it sounds. Harris. Haracz. Harris. It's Polish. All my family's we're Chicago Polish is basically my background.
Chef
my
Mike.
grandma grew up right by Harlem Irving Plaza. Shout out to Marie Sanel Cookie Factory.
Ooh.
And then my other side, my mom's side, where did we do the podcast last time? That was
We
right
were
by
at
what
Wicker
church?
Park.
In Wicker
What
Park.
church
Wicker
was
Park.
right on the corner over there?
The one on-
St. Stan's, Stanislaus.
Stan's.
Yeah. My mom grew up there. So right now you've got both mom and dad's side in our
Right.
podcast pocket, which is great. But just look up Harris. And then on TikTok, just look up McDonald's corporate chef.
Right.
It pops up pretty regularly.
Really?
Go on Plex, you see Heroes Feast. If you find, the fourth story is I was on a reality TV show called The Wicked Offer that I was on the CW. Bill Winslow. So that's the
we
fourth
definitely
story.
need that story. Do you
Boom.
need the story with the trick to
Yeah.
your brother-in-law?
Oh, yeah.
We definitely needed that.
So that's the fourth one we could do
definitely
next time.
need that one.
So yeah, just look me up. I'm out there. You'll find me. It's cool.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thank you so much, Mike. Again, make sure to like, comment, and
Subscribe.
subscribe. Don't forget us and tune in to the next episode. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jayla.
And I'm Monch. And remember, we are Dope Talk, where the talk is always real.
Period.
All right.
Yeah. Dope talk, where the talk is always real. You got that tagline at the end.
Yeah.
Boom, worked it.